Okay, guys, welcome back to Six Figure Creator Podcast. Today we have another special guest. Last week with Tim. This week is Mr. Mason, aka Black Origin. So he's been an entrepreneur his entire life. Just like me, we're all kind of the same in terms of like our entrepreneurial journey, right? We have very similar, different stories, but very similar upbringings and kind of common denominators between us. So Mason has made over six figures on the platform. Just last year, he's made hundreds of thousands with TikTok Shop Affiliate. Specifically, he specializes in live streaming. There's pretty much no one better in terms of live streaming, especially Faceless, that I know on the platform. I used to look up to him on the days and try to take his scripts and stuff. So it's going to be very, very cool. It'll be very action packed in terms of value. You're going to have a ton of value. This podcast will probably could sell for $500, $1,000 as a masterclass. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Mace, I think first off, welcome to Six Figure Creator Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Amazing, amazing. So I think where we'll start is let's take it all the way back in terms of how you even found TikTok Shop in the first place, what you were doing, what business models did you try? Like, tell us before you even got into this, where were you?
And it's quite a long story. The path of an entrepreneur, pretty much. You know, I grew up in Hawaii. In Hawaii, people look at it as paradise. You know, I get asked all the time, why aren't you still there? It's because as an entrepreneur, there's not much opportunity there, you know, to just network and be who you really want to be. So I decided to go to college. Not that I wanted to, but in my eyes, college was 4 years where I could really just figure out what I wanted. It was a period in my life where I could just go and see where life takes me. Year and a half into college, COVID hit. It's probably one of the most depressing moments of my life. You know, nothing's going on. I didn't want to be there. And on top of that, I couldn't talk to anybody. So I was in my room, really just doing nothing. But what I really wanted to do at the time was I wanted to make clothing. I was an artist, graphic designer, and I couldn't do that. I went to college in Colorado. To get into clothing, it was not the place to be. And it was kind of the perfect storm, you know? COVID hit, and I had an opportunity to take a risk. I have we'll probably get in depth to it in the podcast. I have an immensely high tolerance for risk. Put me anywhere, I'll survive. You know, I look at it as like I live my life every day to when I'm 100 years old, I want to look back and have no regrets whatsoever. And so I decided to not tell really anyone that I'm going to drop out of school and move to LA. It's kind of your typical person who wants to get into acting, music. I'm going to go to LA. But the whole reason I wanted to go there was to be a sponge in the first place. You know, I knew nobody. I had enough money for an Airbnb for 1 month. And so I hopped on a plane. I took that risk. And my whole reasoning for being there was to learn how to make clothing. And a couple weeks later, walking down the street, some guy pulls up in like a Ferrari. I don't remember what kind of car it was, but I was wearing one of my hoodies at the time. And he was like, man, that's dope. Where'd you get it? And I said, it's mine. Fast forward a week and a half, I'm working with an NBA player, like who was hooping in real time in 2 weeks. From there, you know, fashion shows, all this stuff happened because I took that risk. But the time came to where, you know, I wanted to help as much as I could, but when you are a giver, takers recognize that very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And so that whole Los Angeles environment was not for me. I learned as much as I could, and once I did, it was time for me to go start something on my own. And so the name Black Origin comes from me. I always wear black clothes. I have a white hoodie on right now. You know, there were no brands at the time that were making black clothes that I wanted to wear. And so I'm like, let me just start it. And that's where the name Black Origin comes from. And this was before TikTok. I honestly, I hadn't really even downloaded TikTok. In all honesty, I used to make fun of people who use TikTok. I just thought it was a stupid
Same.
app. A stupid app. Until I downloaded it, for the sole purpose of growing my clothing brand, because that's where the youth was at the time and still is TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, you're not gonna have a chance. It just is what it is. So I downloaded TikTok, and shout out to Alex Sedlak. He was the first person I saw talking about, there's this new TikTok thing, TikTok shop thing, and that was back in December, so a year and a half ago. I posted my first shop video, and at the time, I didn't have 5,000 followers. So I did the loophole method. If you don't know what that is, Jordy definitely knows what it is. It's where you did not have to have 5,000 followers. There was a way where you can get into shop with, 0 followers. And I basically had 500 followers at the time. So that was my way of getting into TikTok shop. I started posting videos. My first video was in January of 2024, and I had no luck with videos. Looking back, they were terrible, obviously. But the moment that I realized I could make it, is I've always been good at talking to people. It's kind of hard for me to not be authentic and make just a corny video. I gotta just kind of be as authentic as possible. That's where live streaming came in. And so at the time, live streaming was nothing. As if you guys are watching this, if you've been doing TikTok shop for a while, live streaming was really not even a thing in the early days of TikTok shop. But I don't remember who it was. I saw a couple people doing streams, and I thought to myself, I have an extra hour to 2 hours that I can dedicate to this. And so the month of January, I had my first sale in January. It was like a little art camera. It was little digital
Yeah,
cameras
I remember.
that were going pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
Those spots.
remember it to this day. It's probably one of the best days of my life. It was March 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. I had just gotten home. I was actually doing Uber Eats because clothing at the time, it was making me money, but I was doing anything. I'm a pure entrepreneur. I'm gonna go out and drive Uber, do all this stuff. I had gotten home. It was 6 p.m. And it's actually right here. I had been seeing this product going viral, videos. It's Guru Nanda pulling oil, one of the OG. I think it still is in the top 3 most sold items on TikTok Shop.
Yeah.
But no one was going live with it. But it was such a viral product, and so in my eyes, I'm like, this is my chance to take this opportunity. I'm gonna go for 1 hour. It's 6 p.m. The commission was terrible. It was $1. Terrible commission looking back, but at the time I had not made any sales. One sale. So I'm like, what could be worse than this? I started my live at 6 p.m. For the whole hour, I had 5 viewers. Nothing was going on, and I've told this story before, but I kid you not. The minute it turned 7 o'clock, the 1 hour mark, my live stream went from 5 viewers to over 1,000, like in the course of a minute. And I looked at my girlfriend at the time and I said, "You go on a sleep. This is like this is it right here. I'm not getting off. I'm
Yeah.
not getting off." And I proceeded to stay on live for 10 hours until the sun came up. Right next to the window, I saw the sun come up. That first night, I made $4,000, 4 grand on a $1 commission product. And that day driving Uber, I made 160 bucks. I
Yeah.
just made my monthly wage in a night. And so I just did 5 back-to-back 10-hour streams. The third night, I hit that $11,000 mark. And it is so, I knew it would happen,
Yeah.
that kind of money, but I never knew TikTok would be the avenue to do that.
Same.
This was March. I had a $6,000 tax bill due the next month, and I couldn't pay for it. I had maybe 4 grand in my bank account. My car broke down like a week after I had that record-breaking month, and that's what kind of started this whole thing. I didn't get lucky. I had been doing shop for 2 months before that, so I didn't get lucky. I say it was divine timing. I dedicated that 1 hour where I wasn't expecting that. I was gonna go regardless with 5 people on. And it's now 15 to 16 months, actually 17 months since I posted that first video and started TikTok Shop. and I've gone live. I mean, 2024, I went live probably 360 days out of the 365. Um, so that was kind of my journey. Obviously, we'll get more into
Oh yeah.
violations because that really impacted the beginning of my journey. But that's how it all started.
Yeah, 100%. So, guys, just so you know, Mason Black Origin was like super OG days, like come time Guru Nanda days. That was like the first person to like really take off live streaming. Like that's when I pretty much found out about like when I found out about you and how much money you were making, I was like, oh no, this is like 100% a thing. Like six figure live creator at the time it was called was like coined off of understanding people like you. It was before even me and Tim came in with micro ingredients. Like you were first in terms of Guru Nanda. Like that was like the pivotal moment for a lot of people is when you started posting results and people started seeing different live stream results is when that stuff started to really take off. So you have 2 months prior to getting those big days, but before even 2 months, because a lot of people, this is what they mean by when they say like, "Oh, he's an overnight success," and then the guy always replies, "What the famous? I've been doing this for 10 years, and no one's seen it." It's the same thing every single time. It's the same with me. It's the same with Mason. We just had Tim on last week. Same exact thing. It's the same with all the future podcasts you will see. Everyone's moment comes and it looks overnight. It always looks overnight, but there's all of these years before it that were literally struggle and challenge and pain. But the entrepreneur always continued to believe in themselves and have faith in themselves and it working out. And they took risk like this to get to now here where you are now after making multi six figures on the platform going on 7, right? So 2 months, right? So now you're in TikTok shop. You see Sedlick post the video. Shout out Sedlick, of course. You do 2 months of basically no results, like basically, right? You have like one sale or something for 2 months.
$20,
Yeah.
$20.
So then you get into live streaming. You pick up this product, which is a huge learning lesson, guys. Is you'll notice even with Tim last week that trending products, when you get in top of trending products, you make a lot of money, like a trend up product. So you get into Guru Nanda. You make all this money. Like, what are you thinking? What's going on in your life at the time? Yeah, I know you have the tax bill, but what are you actually thinking? Like, what's going on when you first make like $11,000 or 10 grand in a day? Like, what are you even doing with the money? Like, what's even happening in your life?
Dude, like as I sit up here, it's I was that kid. I was that person who would sit in their room at night and idolize all these people who, I love the story. I don't care about the destination. I love the story. All music I listen to is music where people are telling the story of the struggle.
Yeah.
I was I was there. I was there, and for the longest time I knew I had something. Everybody knows they have something. I can't explain it, but if you feel it, you feel it. It's
Yeah.
it's just known. And blessings often come in the most bizarre ways. I
Yeah.
never would have known it would be TikTok, but at the time, I had, it's funny because in my mind, I've always set checkpoints for myself ever since I was a kid. So I always visualize in the future, like, what is my college self gonna be like when it gets to that person? What is my
Yeah.
21-year-old self gonna be like? And it's funny because all of the little things I've ever wanted in life, eventually they come into my life. The smallest things, I'll even take it as far as I liked Pokemon cards back in the day. A few years later, I could buy any of them I want, but at the time, it's like it seems so far away. Same with the clothing thing, it seemed so far away. And I always got those little successes, but it was never monetary success. So I had little achievements, but the money wasn't coming. And so when I got that first $1,000, I mean, I didn't sleep, obviously. I didn't sleep. I refreshed my account. My
Felt that.
girlfriend didn't even believe it at the time. It's like she was on TikTok all day long, and me, who never even downloaded TikTok, I saw an opportunity, took it, and it worked out. You know, uh, my mom came to visit me 2 months after that whole thing took place, and just showing her what I made at the time, it was like that was more than both of my parents combined made in that month. So it's really hard to explain, but at the same time, I don't want this to come off as arrogant, but I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen some way, and when it happened, I got emotional just because I remember being that person who had $300 in their bank account praying for something to come into my life. Um, and I have to give it all to just the risk, the spirit to actually take risks, because so many people get so comfortable with their day-to-day lives.
Yep.
And I look at it as, look, you got one fucking life. Sorry for
Yep.
swearing, but I'm
No.
passionate about this. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen my mom's family, they did well in like real estate and stuff. My dad's family, they're working class. So I've seen both sides and how they act, and I'm like, I can't end up, my whole family still lives in Hawaii working jobs. I'm the only one who I know who actually left Hawaii, took a risk, pretty much was homeless. Like, I was sleeping on couches, for a point in my life. And now that I have that monetary, quote unquote, monetary success, I'm not where I want to be at yet, but I look at it as stepping stones. I'm a stepping stone further than I was a few years ago. Mindset is the most important for that, but now it's my job. I've done all the live streaming. Now it's my job to teach people how I did it, because we can get into it a little later in the call. But as someone who's been through it, I feel that if I give you a month, step by step, how to figure something out, you're going to figure it out.
Yep.
The only boundary is, are you going to give it your all? Are you going to give it your 100%? Because I have the opportunity to do this every single day. A lot of people who I coach and who talk to me have families, have kids. I mean, you're single. We get it. We get it. We're lucky to be in this opportunity where we can spend all day working on ourselves. Others don't. So with that free time that you have, are you going to work on yourself, on your craft, or are you going to waste it watching a sports game or doing nothing with your life? So when the monetary came, to get back to your question, I was grateful, and I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I was like, it finally happened. It finally happened. This risk, the one that I took that I had no idea would be the one, was the one. And I say this all the time, if you have 4 stones and you're afraid to pick up the other one that you're not picking up might be the one to change your life, and you don't
Yeah.
even know it. So you might as well take every risk you can.
100%.
Yeah.
I noticed that a key word, like your favorite word for sure, is risk.
It
And
is.
you have taken definitely a lot of risks. Like I've never taken a risk where it's like everything's on the line basically. And that energy, you're right. There's an energy, like a woo aspect to the universe, that when you take a risk that there literally is no other option, it somehow always works out. It's crazy how the world works. Like you give this like risk to the universe and it gives back for taking that like risk that you didn't think would end up, well, you didn't know how it was going to work out. So going back to the story, right? Connecting the dots here. You literally are on couches. You start your clothing brand. Like you literally just say, screw it. I have 1 month of an Airbnb. You send it to LA. Once you send it to LA, literally not even 2 weeks in, guy in Ferrari pulls up, like ends up literally a week later, you are doing your clothing brand is literally Black Origin is like in the hands of an NBA player. You're doing all these different things. Things are picking up. Things are taking off as an entrepreneur. Like fast forward a couple of years, you're still doing you're just hustling, right? Entrepreneur. It's the beginning of the journey. You're learning stuff. You're figuring it out. Even though you have great clothing, you're still trying to figure out how to source, how to get quality, how to grow the brand, right? It takes skills, right? It takes actual belief, and not just belief, but skills, deep skills to keep growing. So then you get into TikTok. You see a guy's video. You get into TikTok. 2 months goes by. In those 2 months, by the way, before we even get to Guru, those 2 months that you didn't see results, were you feeling doubt? Like, did you want to like kind of switch business models at the time? Like, what was your mindset in those 2 months from January to February, March?
Thinking back, there was no doubt in my mind. TikTok Shop, I was treating as just another opportunity. If it fails, it fails. So what? But I'm going to go all in with this. Obviously at the time, I wouldn't have ever anticipated what happened 2 months later to happen. But in those 2 months, January, February, I would still, when I had no time, I would pump out 2 to 3 videos a day. At least 2 to 3 videos a day. I'd come home. I saw people making the dollars that they were making. And I said, I just got to get better at this. At the time, I was not comfortable on camera. And if you don't know, I'm faceless 100%. Like, I don't show my face on camera. At the time, I was not comfortable. Like, it would be hard for me to do this back then.
Yeah.
I liked being in the background. I didn't want to be that guy who was the public face. I wanted to be in the background. And when I was making those videos, like I said, videos just weren't for me. And it wasn't until I saw the first live stream of someone doing a faceless live stream where I said, and it was Beast Bites at the time, the little creatine gummies. I
I
saw
remember.
those, and I'm like, okay, this could really work. I'm big on authenticity. All the other live streams I saw, it was just scams. If most live streams, 90% of them, they're scams, right?
Yeah.
Those people they're jokes. Don't buy from people you trust. Authenticity can be felt through the camera. So my route to Guru Nanda was, and I planned this like days beforehand too. I'm like, I'm gonna do this Guru Nanda stream. Everybody was just trying to sell the fact that it's $14, right? My take on it was, because this is going so viral, people probably don't even know what this is. And so I took the approach as, okay, when you join my live stream, step by step, I'm going to actually go through how to use it. I'm going to include the whitening strips. I'm going to include the tongue scraper, pretty much everything. And the reason I think my live stream popped off was because I was able to hold people for at least 2 minutes because I was explaining to them how to actually use it. And at the time, it's funny, I didn't know how to check sales at the time on my live streams. Like, for the first month, I didn't know you could see how many sales you were getting. And so I would just stay on live. Like, I didn't know I was printing $1,000 an hour on the back end. I just knew that people were asking me questions and it was going well. So to get back to your question, how did it feel in those 2 months? I didn't have the money aspect in my mind. I didn't think it would happen to me. I didn't think it would happen to me. Um, but I kept putting in the inputs. I kept putting in the inputs. And when I say I didn't know it would happen to me, live streaming aspect, I didn't know that would be the
Yeah.
one to pop
Well,
off.
well, I'm actually curious. What was your? Because by the way, you and Tim have almost scary similar stories. He has the
Yeah,
exact. He
yeah.
has literally the same exact thing. And guys, if you haven't watched the last podcast, Lou and Tim, I say it. Black Origin and Tim, Mason and Tim both made triple my income on stream, and it was because I was the guy that sold the sale that didn't get the knowledge gap on the market. I was the guy that sold the sale and didn't get the knowledge gap on the market, whereas Mason and Tim went the extra mile to educate the consumer, and because of that, they both tripled my income. Now, don't get me wrong, I made 15,000. It's cool, but these are the guys that actually take it a step further and can replicate their formula to make other people money nonstop, right?
Shout
But
out to Tim. Shout out to
yeah,
Tim.
shout out to him 100%. So, no, 100% agree on the knowledge gap and like taking people step by step. So, 2 months, you hit a $4,000 day. You go live for 10 hours, right? You literally can see the sun the next day. You feel like it doesn't even, but before we go into that, the expectation, because Tim said he actually only had expectations of $300 a month. I'm curious to see if there's common numbers. What were your expectations on TikTok Shop Affiliate? Like, did you see $50,000 videos and you expected to make 50 grand in a month? Like, what were your expectations?
Man, you know, I gotta say, it was probably an extra $100 a week. That's it. Extra
Really?
$100 a week. I didn't see like I said, I didn't see TikTok Shop as the platform that would absolutely change my life financially. I just wanted a few extra dollars and some free products. Like, that's what it was. But in the back of my head, I always knew that every video I posted, every live I did, it had a chance to generate that crazy income. Look, at the time, I was making 3,000 a month on a good month. 10K a month was the pinnacle in my eyes. Like, it was the pinnacle. And
Same.
I had to really think about it. Okay, I'm making 3K a month. I have to triple whatever I'm doing. I have to triple whatever I'm doing. So what kind of vehicle can actually do that? And I'm gonna go off topic here a little bit, but it's very important for people to know who are watching. You know, I was sitting at 3K a month. I saw 10K a month as the pinnacle. Now I'm there, right? People say money doesn't buy happiness. Now that like I was that broke kid in his room. Now that I've seen the 10K a month is really mindset. It really is just mindset, risk, and confidence within yourself. Your milestones grow as you get up. And I never understood that from the bottom. It's hard to understand that. And whoever's watching this, you know exactly what I mean. It's hard to fathom that. But take that risk. I only wanted $100 extra a month, but the deeper and the more effort I put into TikTok Shop, the more I could see that, okay, this could actually really work. And it ended up working on something that I thought it would be videos at the time. I really did. I thought it would be videos. Turns out it was live streaming. One of the most uncomfortable things for me at the time. Like I said, I didn't want to show my face. Live streaming is a different beast. You know, you actually have to talk to people. It's a lot easier to sit behind a camera and edit all of the flaws that you're saying. When you're on live, authenticity, you'll get caught up in your lies. You'll get caught up in your lies, stump yourself. That's why authenticity is the most important thing when it comes to live streaming. And yeah, all I really wanted was $100 a week, man. That's it. Like extra grocery money.
Yeah.
That's what it
No, no.
was.
100%. So, all right. So, 2 months, Guru Nanda, you hit these big days. You're like, what was that week, by the way? What was that week in terms of income from
It
that?
was 19,000. 19,000.
And you were probably sitting there like, I don't even know what the hell's going on.
Well, yeah, $19,000 week, and then the next week I got suspended for a month. It was
Oh my gosh.
it
Same
was
story as Tim.
yeah, it was the peak of euphoria to the depths of despair. And looking back, it was my fault because I didn't know what a violation was. I didn't even know you could get a violation. Obviously, I like supplements, that's kind of my niche. I was comparing, I was basically shitting on other companies,
Yeah.
literally on live. Exited out, I had 21 points. 21 points, and I was suspended for a month. And, I couldn't withdraw. I couldn't withdraw the $19,000. So, yeah, talk about just pure, euphoria. Oh my God, I just changed my life to everything just fell apart right in front of my eyes, and I didn't get to reap the rewards of the work that I just put in.
What did you, were you down like did you go through a down week? Because I know Tim has a very similar story. Made a 10 grand on a video, stripped away his account, and he's like, I literally went from peak to straight trough, and like the 24 hours after that were like literally doomsday.
Yeah, yeah. I would not say there were the first 2 days I was definitely down. I'm like, man, why me?
Yeah,
Why me? Why did this happen to me? I'm probably the best live streamer right now due to what I just did. But I knew that I still had 3 points, 21 out of the 24. I'm going to be back in
yeah,
a month. I'm going to be back in a month. Fuck it. I'm gonna go still drive Uber. I'm gonna go back and do that stuff every now and then, go
damn,
back to making clothes.
damn,
But I took those 3 weeks to be like, okay, I
wow,
have 3 points to play with right now. I had gotten a violation in January that was expiring in April, so I'm like, okay, if I can hold it out till, just don't even think about TikTok, the points will be taken off
yeah,
um, at, mid-April. Let me use this time to really formulate. First of all, let me diagnose what went wrong. Let me see what went wrong. Okay, I talked trash on Crest mouthwash. I really was just being flagrant, is what it was. Let me really go back and dissect everything. And when that time came, first thing I did was withdraw all that money, pay my taxes April 16th, do all that stuff. And I didn't get a violation for the next 2 months after that. And I accredit that to me taking that time, not dwindling on. I basically just got cooked, and I used that time to actually research Guru Nanda, look at the TOS, what does TikTok shop, what can you do, what can you not do. So I was really calculated with it, and I think that plays a big factor on why I've been able to be in this game for such a long time, specifically live streaming. I've done tons of products. It's really market research, product research, and just knowing your product. So, yeah, Tim had a very similar story, peak euphoria, depths of
Yep.
despair. Um, but one thing I did is I used that time to really focus. I know I'm going to be back. What can I do to better my opportunity and better myself so that I can never make that mistake again?
So were you in the same position as me where you thought you could only have one loophole account? Is that
Yes, that is
okay?
the exact reason I only had one account for like 8 months. Because I'm
That's
like,
the
look, I cannot. I'm making so much money on this one account. I don't even want to touch any other
that's
accounts because
that's what I said too.
I'm
That's exactly
already
me.
doing a loophole account, so I'm already like crosshairs on me. Yeah.
Same thing with me. Same thing with me. Okay, cool. All right, so you do 19,000. Literally, you go from peak euphoria to straight all the way down into the troughs. Literally by getting 21 points in that time. Now, note, guys, a key lesson to notice is that he took action. So there's a book called Ready Fire Ready Fire Aim, and the concept of like he just took the shot, right? He started to take action first, and then what happened is that like he stripped the income, like God, the universe stripped the income, but it actually turned out for the better because then he got to actually study the market and what he was actually doing, like the business he was in. But he took action first. A lot of the audience, like a lot of you guys, if you're watching, the key thing that separates people who make a lot of money and don't when they first start out their very first month is that a lot of people procrastinate and need to know all the answers versus just getting in the game first, right? So it's a very key lesson. So now you make 19K, you take 3 weeks off because of the violation thing, you're studying, you get back into the game. Was it straight back into Guru Nanda?
When I knew whenever I could go live with Guru Nanda, I would make money. But I eventually ended up switching when I got back in because of commission. In my eyes, if I'm generating Guru Nanda this amount of money and I'm only getting paid $1 a sale, I might as well take my talents elsewhere. And so my next product was this right here, the 15-day cleanse by Mila Mia Moore. To date, I think this is probably my biggest product ever. At the time, it was $5 a sale. But also at the time, that was the most regulated product on TikTok Shop because it had to do with weight loss. And because I had done my research and knew that I couldn't talk about weight loss, I did the same exact thing. People would sell this saying it's 20 bucks, buy it now, buy it now. I took the same approach with Guru Nanda and said, okay, a big sentiment that I'm getting from a lot of people is this shit hurts. This is kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
And so I took the standpoint as, okay, what I'm going to do is when people come into my live, I'm going to tell them step by step how to take the 15-day cleanse. You need to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. It says take 2 capsules, start with 1, see how that feels, and then you can increase to 2 if needed. So people would really come into my live just to learn about how to use the product. And because I was explaining it so well, like I said, I was able to hold people in there, and TikTok likes that. When people are in your live for a good amount of time, they like that. They're going to push it to more people. Obviously, I was taking a little bit of a loss because I was not pushing the sale so hard. I wasn't telling people to buy, buy, buy. So people would come in having already bought the cleanse just for information, but they knew they could trust me. They
Yeah.
knew, well, I had never taken this. I had never taken it, but from my market research and time in the game, I developed a quote unquote script, if you want to say, on how to correctly use the 15-day cleanse, and that was my second product. So the only reason I ditched Guru Nanda was because it was getting to that point where $1 a sale wasn't worth my time on live streams, and the 15-day cleanse, Guru Nanda was like this. 15-day cleanse was like this. So it was starting to pop off. I kind of got in at the right time. And that's kind of what I do with all my products. I don't wait till they're at the top. I look for something that's about to take off and ride that wave. But yeah, 15-day cleanse. I did that for the foreseeable 2 months, probably after that. Yeah.
Go into it. So you do the 15-day cleanse for those 2 months. What do you think you made off of that 15-day cleanse in those 2 months?
Oh, within 2 months, it was 90,000. 90,000. 15-day cleanse. Yeah.
So you make $90,000 of the 15-day cleanse. I think a key lesson in this, first off, is that between you, Tim, and me too, we catch trending products early that are about to take off. They're like on their ripening, and then boom, they take right off, and you get all the traffic for that.
Exactly. And one thing, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
a super important thing when you see something's taking off, become the best at it. Tim was the best at D3K2. You don't want to be just an average streamer. When you notice something, you have that gut feeling that a product's going to take off, become the best at it. Because violations will knock other affiliates off. People will get shiny object syndrome. Look at the next $10 commission product. Become the best at your product.
Yeah, 100%. So now you do this for 2 months. Within those 2 months, what was happening? Is there anything, any type of adversity? Did you not, so you said you didn't get any violations. What was kind of happening? You were just on a roll, like everything was just going well, life was going good, you were making your $1,000 days and.
Yeah. At this point, I was just floating in euphoria a little bit. It had become my new normal. You know, $1,000 days, it was my new normal. You know, I could count on waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning, going live at 10 o'clock, and I would have 500 people every single day. So it was my new normal. I was making money. You know, it's crazy to look back on it because it was pretty much a year ago today, June, I was doing the 15-day cleanse. But the interesting thing is at this point, leading up to this, I've only done lives. I had disregarded videos. I had disregarded videos completely because lives, they do take a lot of time. You know, they take a lot of dedication. And if you're not willing to go every single day, you're not going to make those $1,000 live stream days. Same with videos, vice versa. But at this time, I said, okay, I've been going live for like 4 months already. I was getting a little exhausted. You know, I'm like, okay, let me try my hand at videos again. You know, I've been in the TikTok shop space a lot now, and the first video I really tried to do was air purifiers. It was summer. Summer products were popping off. Ice makers, air purifiers, air conditionings. I still have the air purifier right there. Like, that's exactly where I made that video. Funny enough, the first air purifier video I made, I was going on a trip at the time to Alaska. It was like a family reunion thing. I'm feeling good. I'm making money. I can talk to my family about some adult stuff now. You know, I'm not that kid who's, you know, you know how it is. And I was like, okay, since I'm not going to be live, videos need to be performing while I'm gone because I can't go live in Alaska. I just can't. I didn't want to take the risk is what it was. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try my hand at making some videos so that while I'm gone, I can make money. First air purifier videos, 7 million views. Off rip, off rip. And so I'm like, okay, man, I can't, you know, while I was gone, that commission was $2, so it wasn't what I was used to, but I'm like, I'm making money while I'm on vacation. So that's why I think it's so important that you do all forms of content. We'll probably
Yeah.
get into that, but you have to do all forms of content. Live streaming is great, immediate income. Video is good passive income. Now that I've been making videos, I can wake up with $200, $300, $500 and not have to go live if I don't want to. After that viral video, I'm like, okay, I think I know what to do with when it comes to TikTok Shop. I really think I know what products to go into, you know, just due to the past failures, everything like that. But I had gotten into videos, and it's such a hard thing when you're live to remember to do videos because you're making so much money on live that videos just seem kind of like a lottery ticket, and it's not worth the time. You know, it's not worth the time. I'd rather go live and make $500 an hour than post videos on my account. But as time went on, I started to realize that no, you got to do all three. You know, you got to become a master at all three forms of content. I'm just now getting into bottom of funnel, like taking it seriously. I've had good bottom of funnel videos, but I never took it seriously. And now I'm starting to reap the rewards of bottom of funnel. So Yeah, that's kind of up until summer last year. That's kind of what happened. Obviously, Q3 and Q4 different stories, great stories too. But the first 6 months was definitely a wild ride, man.
No,
Definitely.
I mean, look, guys, 6 months. Like, think about this. He goes from literally like Uber eating, door dashing, whatever, Uber eating, door dashing to literally 6 months later being normalized to. Think about this: being normalized to $1,000 day, every single day, $1,000 commission, not GMV, not sales, like our other business model drop shippers and stuff. This is commission, straight to the bank, profit, withdrawable. $1,000 every single day that goes by, and it's becoming normal. Now, question for you: within like this normalized scenario, because we all get it, what is it like? How have you been able to ground yourself constantly? Because does it not get numb when you start to make money? Like, it's never like the first dollar made or the first $100 made. Like, it gets numb, right? And like, what do you do about that numbness?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. My goal, like I said, 10K a month was the pinnacle. That's basically $300 a day, right? If you can
Yep.
make $300 a day. To this day, my goal, my base goal is $300 a day. That part of me is still there. $300 a day, I'm good. Let me go past that. I just bottom threshold. In terms of keeping myself grounded, dude, I don't buy anything. Like I live so minimally. Like I bought a Rolex. That was like the first thing that
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've always wanted this. I don't care that it's an expensive watch. It's a present for me. So whenever
Yeah.
I look at it and like, okay, you know, I accomplished that. I accomplished that just to reaffirm that inner child inside me. You never want to lose that because you can get so caught up in these $1,000 days and ego will absolutely kill you. I talk about this a lot where you're making all this money, you have a PR month, and you start to slow down. You're like, okay, I can do this every single day. It's happened to me so many times with products where I'm on live and I expect $500 an hour, and then the next month I'm doing a 6K month. Like it's just absolutely plummeted that product. So every day to keep myself grounded, I haven't changed, man. Like to this day, I have not changed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm more financially free, and it's great to not have to worry about anything. I think to me, that's money is important in my life for that very reason. I value freedom at all costs. Like I have never worked a job other than high school. I was a grocery bagger. But other than that, Uber Eats, Uber, that is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
If you take it that
100%.
far, clothing, all that. I've really never worked a 9 to 5 job, um, purely because I wanted my time. I just wanted my time. TikTok Shop affiliate has blessed me to be able to do that. And I think the most important thing to stay humble because the money, it does get numb as crazy as it sounds. If you're not making sales, you're probably thinking like what I would kill to do $1,000 a day. We were those same people. I think the most important thing, what keeps people like us and whoever's making money ground is just remember where you came from. Um, Community is so important for that too. I lone wolfed it for a long time. Even like TikTok Shop before I joined 6FC and met you and other people who are making money. I lone wolfed it for a long time. It was probably one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was because when those trials and tribulations come, you have no one to talk to. You're stressing. And once I got in that community, I was always big on mindset. That's like the one thing, risk. When you take risks, you're pretty much, your mindset is catered towards risks and what comes with that. But to know that there's other people out there who are in my position, all my friend group are working jobs. I love them to death, love all my day ones still in Hawaii to death, my family, my friends. Even when I see them to this day, I'm like, shout out to my mom and dad. They don't have the mindset. They're programmed to work. I had my brother, when I went home for Christmas, I had my brother who was in college. This is kind of what grounded me. This is a big thing. When I went home, my younger brother, we never when I graduated high school, he was starting high school, so the age difference, I couldn't really talk to him. He was like still a kid, you know. Just in the last few years, I went home and he told me we were walking on the golf course by the ocean in Hawaii, and he told me like, "Look, man, you're really living life like no one I've seen has. You've taken these risks. You do what you want to do. I have to take off of school and work to go to Hawaii. You can just do it." And he applauded me for it, and I just felt it. You know, I felt it. That's what I'm doing this for. You know, eventually, you know, I'm the person who's going to do that for everyone around me. I'm that person, you know. That's why I take those risks. I know I'm going to be good eventually. I don't know how it's going to happen. I know there's going to be ups and downs, but you know, I'm the firstborn son of my parents, so it's always been on my shoulders. And when he just said that, it hit home. And I think having people around you is the most important thing. It's easy to seclude yourself. You know, you're like, you get this big head. No one has the mindset I do, so I'm just gonna do things myself. That's the wrong way to go. The wrong way to go.
100%.
You have to surround yourself with like-minded people, and the most important thing is you have to surround yourself with people who are above you. You have to surround yourself with people who are above you and below you to keep you humble. So community is the biggest part, and I think that's the most important thing to keep you grounded, um, socially, but mentally inside yourself. You always just have to remember who you are. Don't get lost in materialistic things. Remember who you are. One thing I do, and I'll let you talk. I'm kind of going off, but one thing I've always done for myself is every year, every couple months, I record a video of myself. And I've said this before. On Snapchat. I record a video of myself talking about where I am now and where I want to be, mentally, physically, financially. The first video I ever made, I was broke, wishing that I would be on this call right now, talking about the numbers that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If I were to give one piece of advice to you guys, journal, whether it's writing on paper, where you are, where you want to be, so you can look back at it. It's easy to forget who you were. Uh, and my form is videos because I can see the emotion that I had when I had
Yeah.
$300 in my bank account, dude. I remember the day. I
No, you're
remember.
right. No, no, for sure. You're right 100%. It is easy to forget where you came from for sure. And like you forget yourself for sure. I agree on like all points there, Mace. Like 100% community, not just because like six figure creator, like literally it's true. I used to lone wolf also, and it all plays a huge part. But when I look back, because I never had community and I tried to lone wolf it for so long, you don't have anyone to make it real, especially when you're at the same level as the person or the person's just slightly above you. It's not real because you're not around anyone else that's making the money, and it feels like it's a fake world that you're trying to get yourself into. So 100% there. And then number two is the journaling part and the video part. I used to record myself a lot in terms of like just speaking. Like I think we all do. A lot of us, our age group especially, like we sit there and record ourselves where we want to be. I remember I had a video like in the snow. I recorded it like all like everything that I said is as it's like 2 years later now. It's exact like almost pinpointed. So
And it's crazy because a lot of the stuff that I used to talk about is happening, but none of that happens unless you take the risk. And you know, knowing you're going to do something is one thing in the future, but actually applying it day in and day out, it compounds over time. And when you get there, you're not even going to realize it
yeah,
unless you look back and you're like, "Oh man, I actually prayed for this. Like I
super true.
actually prayed for this." It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
No, super true. Super true that you get into it and then you like forget that you were just dreaming about it. Like it literally is so true. Very true, actually. Okay, to shift focus a little bit. Okay, so literally you go through this journey for 6 months, right? Like this initial journey, 6 months, right? You start first 2 months, you make no money, then you hit this crazy $19,000 week, right? You make 19,000 a week. Literally, the universe, God, strips the entire, gives you 21 points, slams you with a 21-point violation. Violations were brutal back then. Slams you with 21 points. You're gone for 3 weeks. You're out, right? So 3 weeks, those 3 weeks you took to market research. The reason you didn't create another account, guys, is because we didn't know that back in the day. We had loophole accounts. You weren't allowed to create more than one account. That was the stigma, so we didn't know. Then you get into, so that was Guru Nanda. Then you get into gut cleanse. Gut cleanse makes you literally $1,000 a day, $1,000 to $2,000 a day for 2 months straight. You're literally riding the euphoria train. You feel like for the first time, life's happening, like it's just going good. You finally made success, but you're still grounding yourself. You do a very good job grounding yourself. So you make $90,000 in 2 months. After gut cleanse, where did you go from there?
Funny story. Shout out to my brother Tim. I tried my hand at D3K2 after that. I saw you on the collagen lives. At this point, 15-day cleanse had already hit its peak. My strategy is I'm gonna ride a product as long as I can until I can't anymore. Everybody I knew was making $50,000 a month doing ice makers. Everybody I knew was killing it with
I
ice
remember.
makers.
Yep.
And I'm like, I have to just stay in my lane. I gotta stay in my lane. I can't divert. I went to D3K2. That kind of hit its peak. I gotta say, probably around like late July, micro ingredients, like
Yeah.
late summer.
Yeah.
And then I got a goalie opportunity. That's kind of where goalie came in right after that. I remember to this day, I have the screenshots of you specifically telling everybody, I believe this is going to happen. And knowing you, you go all in, as do I. And so you said, we're going to take goalie number one. And so I put my full faith in. Granted, I didn't stream goalie as long as others did, but I think I was the third live streamer to do goalie. Third or
Yeah.
fourth. I was
Yeah.
one of the
You were
I was in
third. You
that
were third
first
live
batch.
streamer.
Yeah, third.
Yep.
I had gotten that first tier. That first month I had gotten, I don't know what, I think it was the Rolex, the cash, I think it was.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm like, okay, so I can kind of take a new product. Because I had always done products that were already popping. Because I had success with goalie in the beginning, I'm like, okay, I can kind of be the wave. I can be the trendsetter on
Yeah.
live.
It's interesting.
After that, this is my longest running product right here. Shout out to Bodywise. They are now Root Labs, but I did this for like 5 months, and this was the first product that had bananas commission. Like I'm used to $5 to $7. The commission on this at the time was like $10, and if I could sell two, that's $20. Going from $1 a sale, like to from Guru Nanda to those high commission ones. Um, so I rode Bodywise for a long time, and I waited till it died out. I just literally 5 months of seeing other people with different products. I see Tim hit an $80,000 month with goalie, but I'm like, I can't get sidetracked. I can't get sidetracked, and I rode it till I couldn't anymore. Um, Currently, I've been doing Catechore NAD. You'll notice supplements only. Supplements only. That's what I do. And then right now, as we speak, currently, I'm having a record bottom of funnel month. So I I still have gone live this month, but people will probably say like you should go live every day to double that. In my eyes, guys, I spent probably 500 days live streaming every single day.
Yeah.
That because I've had success with this right now, I'm going to double down on what's working right now. Obviously, I'm not losing live streams. You never want to lose what got you there. That's a big mistake people make. You don't want to lose what got you there because when you forget about what got you there, it might not be the same when you come back, and then you might be screwed. So that's why I say do every single thing, but that's currently where I'm at right now. Yeah.
So a couple things, right? Like in live stream specifically, like a couple key tips, because I'm sure people are listening. Like, okay, he made all this money. This is his story. Now, how do I do it? How do I replicate it? So I think for new TikTok Shop affiliates, you made hundreds of thousands of dollars on TikTok Shop affiliate live streams. What are the single biggest key takeaways after making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a TikTok Shop affiliate live? What are the biggest takeaways?
So there's a lot of obviously takeaways. I think live streaming is probably the hardest thing to get into and get
Yeah.
good at, get really good at. You'll hear a lot of people say, including I say this a lot myself, you're gonna get it if you go every day. But in my opinion, I think the most important thing that because I watch TikTok all the time. I watch affiliates live streams. Yeah, I'm still a learner. I'm still trying to soak up as much as I can. The one thing I do see is the lack of tone, cadence, and energy, as well as product knowledge. People often think it's funny looking at it because people just think they can click live and they're gonna sell something, like they're gonna get sales, because they have that confidence, you know, that ego. If you don't have the cadence that you know what you're talking about, I use this phrase all the time. People feel authenticity through the camera. I don't care if it's artificial authenticity, but if you don't have the direct energy,
Yep.
cadence, and tone of voice,
Yep.
no one is going to buy from you. They're going to buy from the person they trust. They're going to buy from the person they trust. So that's the number one thing that's the biggest thing I think live streamers or people who want to get into live should absolutely work on. It's going to take a little time, but the one thing it's going to take is you actually going live. Like, you can sit here recording yourself when no one's watching and be perfect, but it's different when people are listening. It's different. Be the professional. Be the professional. What I do is, I have stacks of notes from products that I have done on live streams. The day before I go live, I get to know the product as much as I can. I'm not going to talk about everything that I learned, but I need to have that database so that if I do get stumped, I'm confident in it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's the big thing I think people should definitely get down. It's going to take a little time, but if you can, you know, actively day in day out work on that, this is a long-term play, like long-term play. Short-term play, me personally, I've had success with, at this point, it's 13 products on live, 13 supplements on live, and I have managed to hold a minimum of 100 viewers all the way up to 1,000. I've managed to, get into different products and be successful with it. And my one piece of advice that I would give to people who do live streams, you have to treat it like videos. If you're posting videos every day, you can't go live once a week and expect to make thousands of dollars. You just can't. Like, it took me 2 months. Like, everybody who live streams, it took them a while to have that breakthrough. If I were to give anyone watching like a day-to-day thing on what you can do, I'll give you like 1 month scenario, right? If I were to go back and all the 16, 17 months that I've been doing this, concise it into a 1 month plan. And I'm going to include videos on this too, but this is just from 0 to 100, everything you can do. I would start with an hour and a half minimum of live per day.
Wait. So one sec. One sec.
Yeah,
So let me cue this up. So you made hundreds of thousands. You made hundreds of thousands of dollars as a TikTok Shop affiliate. This is your roadmap from going from zero to your first month and making 10K a month on TikTok Shop.
this is.
What
Yeah.
is the roadmap?
All right. So the roadmap, I'm going to include everything: bottom of funnel, viral, and live streams. My roadmap, if you're getting into TikTok Shop, would be to start with videos. More specifically, bottom of funnel. You need to know how TikTok Shop works. You need to know how TikTok Shop works. So the first few days, I would say post 10 bottom of funnel videos. And if you don't know what that is, you're basically just selling the sale. Get some samples, see what products are trending, and from whatever performs on your bottom of funnel videos, pick out the products you want to go live with, because there is a correlation that I've noticed that certain accounts are better at selling certain things. I have 3 accounts. My main account, there's like 2 products that just don't work on it. They flop on my main account, but the other account, they get 100 views. It's weird. I just have this theory that there's certain products that work with certain accounts. So
Yeah.
try everything. Try everything. Start out with bottom of funnel, 10 videos a day. Once you get into that 3rd and 4th day, go live an hour and a half every single day. Now, I don't care if the lives are bad. They're probably going to be bad when you start. Everything is. Everything is. People get too attached to a certain product. Let's say they see me making thousands of dollars with Catacore, they might not be able to do the same. It's very hard to replicate that. Try everything you can, like every single product, supplements, technology, anything, because you never know what's going to pop off. More oftentimes than not, the things in my life that are the biggest are the ones that I paid no mind to, you know? So try different products, an hour and a half minimum every day of live. And I get it's going to be hard if you have a family and stuff, but if you really want to do this, you're going to have to bet on yourself. You know, your family's betting on you. So you have to bet on yourself. Everyone around you is betting on you. And if you're not betting on yourself, you know, you're not going to make it. So you have to take that time. If you want this to happen, you have to put in the inputs. Hour and a half of live every single day. I'll give you some little golden nuggets. The best times to go live, in my opinion, are in the morning and the evening. So I start my lives at 10:30, 11 a.m. I go for, 2 hours, and anytime after 6 p.m., especially on lives, you want to target people when they're on their phone. The people who are buying from you are working, most likely. So they're not on TikTok during the day. That's when all the stay-at-home moms are on TikTok, right? You want to target as many people as you can. So the morning, which I didn't even realize how big of a market the morning is, because I would never buy something on TikTok Shop in the morning, but people do.
Yeah,
And you
people love it.
start your day off. You know, if you can make $100 before noon, you're already 90% ahead of the US population in the world. Pick your time, and if you can't go live in the evenings or the morning, it doesn't matter. Money doesn't sleep. Money doesn't sleep. So go live whenever you can. An hour and a half a day, 10 bottom of funnel videos a day, and I would say at least 2 to 3 viral videos a day. And if you can do that every single day for a month, I mean, I will go as far as to bet you're gonna make a sale. Never mind,
100%.
never mind 10K a month. What we're looking for is to hit the ground, okay? Not running yet. You're jogging. This is, in my opinion, the fast track to getting started with TikTok Shop is every day do all three forms of content. All three forms of content for a month. I promise you, you're gonna get a sale. If not, you're gonna get $1,000, right? You're gonna get $1,000. You might get lucky. Yes, luck plays a little bit of a part with TikTok Shop. And my friend Manny has a great quote on luck: "Is you're not gonna miss your lucky day if you go every day. You're gonna miss your lucky day if you take the day off."
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, there's times where it's like my best live streams are the ones that I don't want to do. Literally almost every single time it's like, man, I've done so much this week. You know, it's 7 p.m. It's the prime time to go live, but I've made enough money to where I don't need to. But then I end up going live and it turns into the best live I've ever had. So when you don't want to do something, do it. That's my roadmap to obviously make your first sale, but to get started on TikTok Shop. And always remember, anyone who's watching this, you have to be doing all forms of content, because like I said, I didn't think live streaming would be anything. I didn't want to do live streaming. I was nervous to press the live button. Like that's the first 5 minutes of live is the most nervous part.
Yeah.
But live streaming is what changed my life. You know, I thought it would be videos and it ended up being the one that I was neglecting. So you have to do all three. That's my road.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So there's a lot to unpack within that, but in terms of tips for live on the actual framework of a live stream, so what is like the actual seven-figure GMV live script, the formula, the secret to live selling?
My scripts, I don't make scripts. I feel that the viewer and the buyer knows when you're reading off something. And so I try to stay away from word for word scripts. That's why you see my notes, they're just notes. They're just facts, that I can always pull from if I get stumped. What I do, and this is what I teach too, is it's I do like the 70-30 rule. 70% is product education, 30% is selling the sale. Obviously, you don't want to be too salesy, but it does play a part. You're here to sell. You're not here to fully educate people. We're here to make money. We're here to
Yep.
make money. I separate it in 3 categories. First and foremost, the people who are joining your live might not know anything about category NAD, goalie, so it's your job to inform them. That should be the first. Let's say we're doing like a 3-minute script. The first minute should be awareness, product knowledge. You're trying to target the people who have no idea what's going on. First column is awareness. The second is consideration. So consideration is, okay, they know what the product does. You've told them what it's done for you. Now it's your job to, you know, start to get a little bit little bit salesy. Start to get a little bit salesy. They're considering it. Now it's your chance to guide them on why it's a good product that they should buy. They already know it's a good product and it works, but why should you buy it? Third is conversion. So awareness, consideration, conversion. The third part, you're basically going in talking about the deals, free shipping, and if there's no deals or anything, you got to get a little you got to get imaginative, you know. I don't go as far to say full on lying to people and scamming people like, "Oh, you get 5 for the price of 1," but use your imagination a little bit. Something I use on lives, if there's no sale, say, I work directly with the brand, they're only allowing me to sell 10 more. So it's first come, first serve. Any way you can get people to click the cart. That's your job on the last column. If you can get them to actually click the product, they're either going to buy it or they're not when they see, the checkout page. As long as you can weave them into clicking the cart, checking everything out, your job is done. And the biggest question I get a lot is, when you get how do you stay on topic? How do you not get sidetracked with all these questions? You have to remember that you're here to sell. People are joining your live every second. Your script should not be longer than 5 minutes at all. TikTok live especially, very fast. The average time someone's going to be in your live is probably like 5 to 10 seconds. They're there to check it out. So you have to catch them every 10 to 15 seconds. Even if you're on step 1, you have to notice if there's an influx of people checking out, get to section 3, close those people, and then restart. So your job is to stick to one foundation. You can veer off a little bit, but always remember to come back because there's people who are constantly coming into your live stream. So that is my 3-part system. I would start by taking notes. The first half, awareness, just product knowledge. How many of these do you take? What does this do? Secondly, what has it done for you? You want to be personal, right? Even if you've never taken the product before, read some of the reviews. How does it work for other people? Use that for yourself, right? One tip and I'll let you get back to this. One really big tip that I give is if you're talking about benefits that you are feeling, it's bias. People won't really believe you. They know you're there to sell, right? So if you're always talking about what you feel, it's a little different. If you can include someone else, a significant other, like my wife started taking this, my friend, this is what my friend felt, this is what someone else felt. When a viewer sees that you're talking about someone else's benefits, they're more likely to trust you. That's a big nugget that I give. So
that is a massive nugget.
yeah, personality, just be as raw as possible. Be as raw as possible. But if you're not a salesman, like you grew up doing sales, I didn't really do sales until like 5 years ago. If you aren't familiar with sales at all, product research is the most important part and time in the game. So might not make you might not make a sale on your first live, but every live that you do, you're getting better and better.
Yeah, 100%. So love it. So the secret to 0 to 10K a month on TikTok Shop live stream is awareness, consideration, conversion, the ACC live framework. Within awareness, you say product research is a very key important term. How do you actually research products? What is your product research formula? Do I go to the website? What do I do if I'm brand new? I don't have any knowledge. I need to study this product. What do I do?
TikTok. Number 1, scroll TikTok. I don't care if you love or hate TikTok. The amount of information on TikTok, look at videos. One thing that I really like to do, obviously I'll look up, what does goalie do? What are the benefits of ashwagandha? Look at the bottle. The bottle will pretty much tell you everything you need to know. One place a lot of affiliates do not look at is the actual reviews on the shop.
Yeah.
So when you can look on Wikipedia ashwagandha, there's going to be a lot of different information. It's going to be hard to find the right information. I'm going to use goalie as an example. Go to goalie's product page. These people are leaving real reviews. They're leaving real reviews. So study all of those reviews, find the most common things people are saying, write them down in a way that you can use them in what you say. So the way I really do product research is first I start by searching up goalie on TikTok, see the motive, why people are buying it, why it's going viral, then take it to the internet, just basic information and facts, as well as the bottle. You're going to want to know pretty much everything. How many do you take? What's in it? Gluten-free, vegan, all that sort of stuff. And then the TikTok review page is by far the biggest key, because it's people, and I like to guide people to actually look at those too when I'm selling on live. Like, don't just take my word for it. There are 20,000 five-star reviews. You can go and check them out. That is by far where I get the most inspiration for building my scripts.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so awareness, consideration, and conversion is the formula. After awareness, consideration, you mentioned a key strategy in your live streams that make you do 20 to 30K a month. The key strategy within consideration is you use other people's stories, because it builds a lot more trust. Like telling about my mom, telling about my girlfriend, it builds a lot more trust, especially if you're selling female products, right?
Yeah.
And then in conversion, about the call to action, because everything you do have to sell them, right? You mentioned a couple key strategies. What else about the call to action should people be aware of? What other type of urgency, scarcity? Maybe give them some. Maybe give some secret lines that always convert people on TikTok Shop affiliate live streams.
Yeah, great question. Because this stuff is like, I get excited talking about this. It's like, yeah, first is obviously we covered that, right? Product knowledge, product detail, product research. Next is consideration. So this is the part where you get a little personal, where I get a little personal. So I'm gonna literally read off my script for one of the products that I made a lot of money with on live. It's Boom Boom Sticks, very popular. So as you can see right here, basically what kind of oils are in them, how long does the thing last, where is Boom Boom produced, and then right after that, I get into how they make me feel, my experience, and other people. The lavender Boom Boom Stick is calming. I like to use that before bed. So if you're an antsy person, lavender oil is historically used to help calm the nervous system. Tropical, same thing. It's awakening. Mint is energetic. So get very personal with it so that you can connect to the person. That's the most important thing about live streaming, especially just sales, is you have to be able to connect to the person. You have to be able to connect to them. So once you get into conversion, this is where you get a little salesy. So obviously, scarcity and urgency are the biggest thing. If you're a live streamer, you know by now what live flash sales are. Basically, there's a timer, a countdown. It's an artificial countdown. Obviously, they're not going to sell out. You can reset it. I have never used a live flash sale. To this day, I've never used a live flash sale. I might be the only one, maybe other than Tim, who's been live streaming for this long, who's never used a live flash sale. So I don't rely on TikTok's timer. I rely on myself. I trust myself more to convert the person than TikTok ever will. So a few key things. Now that you've got awareness, consideration, conversion, when you're converting, a big tip is to always have a second device. First and foremost, you're going to want to have a second device to guide them through how to actually check out. Because you can sit up here and say, oh yeah, you're just going to tap the banner down below, free shipping, all this stuff. But if there's coupons and deals, you want to actually show them how to do that. And in my experience, I get about 80% more people in checkout when I actually guide them through it. Obviously, you don't want to show any personal information, things like that. Get familiar with the checkout page so you know what and what not to avoid. Literally show them, like, this is the deal, this is how you get it. These are first come, first serve. A big thing and a big tip that affiliates might not know is buyers and people who aren't actually shop affiliates have no idea how many items are in stock. TikTok does not give that information unless you're an affiliate. So when you click the product banner and you're not an affiliate, you cannot see that there's 100,000 left in stock. Only affiliates can see that. And chances are 90% of the people in your live are not affiliates. So you're trying to target them. Create some artificial FOMO. Don't lie your ass off. Just create some artificial FOMO. This is a line that I like to use a lot. I work directly with the company and brand. I'm one of their top sellers right now. They only allow me a certain number to put on sale because, guys, these deals are amazing. Obviously, they're the lowest you'll ever see. They only allow me to sell a limited amount, so they're first come, first serve. And then I guide them through the checkout from there. Anything you can do to just create some artificial FOMO, even as far as to say, like, I'm only going to take 5 more orders and then I'm getting off. Little things like that is a big key that I would use in consideration. Because what a lot of affiliates do is, when they're going over the deal, they expect the customer to go through the deal with them. They just expect it. That's not going to happen. 5% of people will be actively listening to that nonsense, right? Guys, click the shopping cart. You're going to automatically think you're going to get sales. No, you're not going to get sales. Do your best to create as much FOMO as you can and urgency and convey that this is the best time to get it on this person's live stream. You're working directly with the brand, right? So you have to say things like this in order to convert people.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, remember, like, people are new to TikTok Shop. A lot of people haven't bought before in TikTok Shop. A lot of people only bought one thing. It's important. Also, the age range is actually not younger. It's actually older, right? So people don't know how to use it. So just by showing them, by call to acting them where to go and how to do it is going to drive, like Mason said, it's going to drive a significant amount of people to the checkout because you're literally showing them what to do. It's like, hey, take this first step, then go here, and this is how you can get a major discount, right? Another key line that I used to use is at the checkout page. What you guys can do is at the checkout page, I used to say, some people see even a bigger discount. So if you want to see if you're one of the lucky ones, go to the checkout now. And people just for curiosity would click it. And it would just raise your product's click rate, which is a good line to use at the checkout screen, which is
100%. Cool. Another little nugget that you brought up is other people get bigger discounts. My age demographic, and I'll just go into it with different products. There's going to be different demographics. 15-day cleanse, like my average age was like 35 to 50 for this product.
Wow.
Right here, Shilajit, 50 and older, 90% men. Wow. So that's a big thing. A lot of people who are ordering on TikTok Shop, it's probably their first order. It's not going to be like that in the next year or anything like that. But, if you know that the person in your live is an adult, they might not have bought anything from TikTok Shop. So one thing that I do like to say is when I get my phone out to show them the deals, I'll say things like, guys, if you don't know the TikTok Shop platform, if this is your first order, let me guide you through it, and I'm going to show you step by step how to get the best deal possible. You don't want to say this is how you get the promo codes. You want to step it up and say this is how you get the best promo code and actively show these people, because especially when it comes to supplements, 20-year-olds aren't buying supplements unless it's like creatine and stuff like that. Most of these products, the average age demographic is 30 and older. And they might not know how to use the TikTok Shop platform or TikTok Shop in general. So it's your job to really guide them through it, show them step by step how to do these things. And trust me, you're going to convert a lot more the more care you put into your craft.
Yeah, awesome. So so we got through ACC framework just before for product selection, because that's a major piece. If you look at Tim's story, look at your story, look at my story, we all picked great products at the right time. That's where the luck factor comes in. Or what is luck? It's just incredible timing a lot of times. So how can you kind of manipulate timing so that it's on your side to be a lucky one in terms of trending products? Like, how should someone brand new, they don't have a lot of money, they want to make money on TikTok Shop affiliate live streaming, how should they go about picking the right product? What variables should they be looking at?
This is a great question because, if you can crack this, I mean, it's roses and daisies in your future. Us as live streamers, this is a two-parter, but we do have a disadvantage when it comes to videos. We do have a disadvantage. It's harder to make a product go viral from live streaming as it is to make it go viral with videos. So my strategy is basically S- Wait for a viral video because that is what is going to create the hype behind a product. Like Tim did, micro ingredients, collagen, D3, there were already viral videos going, and it was your job as the live streamers to pick up the scraps. Very expensive scraps. Like, but it was your job to go in the market and be that person that targets whoever watched that video. They didn't want to buy it. Okay, they come in your live. Now you're actually explaining about the product. That is your job. So every product I've ever done was on the come up with videos. There was a viral video. Yerba Magic, for example, had a viral video 2 months ago, and I called it out to people that I coach. I said, guys, get on this product right now. No one's doing it on live, but this dude's video is getting 25 million views. Turns out one guy took my advice, made $15,000 from Yerba Magic the following month. Another lady was the #1 streamer for Yerba Magic just based off of that. So it's a lot of people don't like to do this, but your best friend is the TikTok For You page. I know us as affiliates don't like to watch TikTok, but if you want to be in this game, you got to know how TikTok Shop works. You got to know where the viral videos are coming from. So every day you're going to want to scroll. If you see a person's live, join in it. If they have 100, 200 viewers, chances are that product's doing pretty well and you can replicate it. I used to like to use Calo data for the top 50. I don't really now, but what I do use Calo data for is the trend graphs. So when you look in the top 1 to 100, you're going to see a lot of products floating like this. But if you see one that's brand new, like the last week, it's starting to pop off. That's how I did it with Guru Nanda. That's how I did it with 15-day cleanse. When you see that trend line, it's a good opportunity to jump on lives because that trend line is set from videos. It's set from videos. So you always want to pay attention to the people making viral videos. Obviously, follow a bunch of affiliates as well. Just really ingrain yourself in the game. TikTok is your best friend when you're an affiliate.
Yep, love it. Okay, to go ahead and wrap up with our final questions, I did with Tim. I'm gonna do this every single time. A piece of advice for usually people just do beginners, but a piece of advice for beginners, and then we'll ask after a piece of advice for advanced people who are already making money to look out what not to do. So let's start with beginner first. What for a TikTok Shop affiliate who's just beginning out, who's just starting out, for a TikTok Shop affiliate who's just starting out, they have no money, they're trying to make money with the platform. What is your #1 piece of advice that you could give them?
If I'm trying to think back to my journey, because this, I'm speaking truly from the heart here. I took a lot of time trying a whole bunch of different things. First of all, you got to know what you're good at, right? In the back of my head, I knew live streaming was probably the thing for me because I'm good at talking to people. I'm 24, I'm young, but I have that thing to where I can kind of blend with any kind of person. I can get to their level. So first and foremost, you got to know what your strengths are and cater to that. When you're coming into the affiliate space, it's a very competitive space. Look, 90% of these affiliates don't know what they're talking about. Purely, they don't know what they're talking about, but they've had some success, so they can kind of talk about it. Follow a bunch of creators. Post your strengths. Lean into your strengths. The biggest piece of advice I would give, though, to someone who's like just downloaded TikTok or just got accepted into the affiliate program is what I said earlier. 10 bottom of funnel videos a day. Try your hand at live streaming and try your hand at viral. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so you might as well take all of the shots as you can. But
Yeah.
be a professional about it. Be a professional. Like when I look back at my old videos, they were so bad. I had so much blank space. I had no tone in my voice. I was talking like this. Hey guys, Catacore is on a sale right now. And I thought people would buy from it. I was delusional. I was
Yeah.
delusional. Be confident within yourself. You're here to sell. Look at the top affiliate when live streaming specifically. Look at how the live streamers talk. Look at how they talk as compared to someone who's just getting into live streaming. These big live streamers talk with confidence. They have personality. You're going to want to display that on the camera, face or faceless. And when it comes to videos, same thing. tone is so important. The first 5 seconds of your video is the most important thing ever. You have to get people hooked. TikTok, like, even if it's just a regular not shot video, a regular video, TikTok prioritizes how long someone watches your video. Plan that out. Be as confident as you can. Look at the viral videos that are going right now, implement that into yours. And I honestly, man, like coming from the live stream world, I really think tone, energy, and confidence are the most important parts about really being successful in the long term of a TikTok shop affiliate, because you can use what you learn with TikTok shop and apply it elsewhere. You know, I'm a live seller. I've grown 1,000 times what I used to be purely because, you know, I just gain the confidence with time in the game. And if someone would have told me that in the beginning, if like I went 2 months without selling anything, 1 to 2 sales, I can pinpoint I had no confidence. I had no tone of voice. I had no energy. Those are the biggest things, in my opinion, that need to be dialed in when you're starting TikTok shop.
Yeah, agree 100%, 100%. And then for advanced people, so you've made, it's not just about making 5 figures 1 month, but you made 5 figures a month for the past literally foreseeable 15 months, right? So the question is for advanced people who are like making into their first $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, maybe they hit 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of, you know, $10,000 to $50,000 a month. What should they be looking out for? What should they not be doing? What should they be looking out for? What should they be scared about or be weary of?
Well, one thing I do want to say is I'm here to be as authentic as possible. I have had shit months. You know, it has not been all 30, 40K months. If it was, you know, that's a dreamland. That's, you know, you have high expectations if you're setting yourself up. But this is entrepreneurship, day in and day out. There's
Yep.
going to be ups and
Yes.
downs. I think the biggest thing when it comes to, if you're trying to do this a long time, right? If you're already making money and you want to do what I did, a bunch of different products successfully, do not look at it as what you made in the day. You have to expand your
Yep.
horizons. We're entrepreneurs, guys. If I have a $1,000 month, 10,000, 3,000, 50,000, if you get carried away in those highs and lows, you're going to set yourself up for disaster. You're not going to be prepared for those lows. You have to expand it, because all those valleys, if you add them up, it's 100K a year. If you add it up, everything, do not get caught in the highs and lows. We're all going to have high periods. There's violations. There's things that are outside of our control. So if you are a top affiliate, if you're already making money, time in the game, consistency, biggest part about it when it comes to product selection. And that's the biggest thing. You're not going to be able to ride a product out for a year. 1% of affiliates are doing the same product they've done forever. I did 12 different products. If you find that you have a winning product, you stick with that winning product until you can't anymore. It is so easy to get caught up in what other people are making and totally change. For example, you know, I was doing body-wise shillagit. I saw so many people making money on goalie. If I would have switched to goalie, I might not have been able to have that success going back to body-wise and root labs. So stick to your product if it's a winning product, and just know that the product's not going to last forever. Start ordering samples, product research, so that you are prepared for what's next to come, because we live in a fantasy land. I mean, it's crazy. If you make $50,000 a month with this, you're going to think you can do this forever. You're going to
Yeah.
think that you're going to be able
100%.
to, you know, be head of the company one day for Micro and Grid. That's how I thought with Guru Nanda. I'm like,
100%.
dude, I'm selling more than their branded lives. But it came to an end. But I was well prepared for that pivot. I had already done my research on what's popular now. That is my biggest piece of advice, is to know that that product is not going to last forever. Don't fall in love with the product. Do as best as you can with it at the time, but
Yep.
always be looking out for trends, what's not working. Really is, it all comes back to just calculated risks. Calculated risks. If I would have risked it all to go in goalie, who would have known? Who knows, you know? But if you know something's working, work it till you can't
Yep.
anymore.
Yep, 100%. Guys, for sure, gold. Okay, that is the story of how Mason, aka Black Origin. Okay, made his hundreds of thousands of dollars in the TikTok Shop affiliate program. Guys, he goes from sleeping on couches. Literally, this is every entrepreneurial story, right? Sleeping on couching, sleeping on couches. He loves clothing, right? He gets into starting Black Origin, right? He starts his clothing brand. He takes a massive, massive leap of faith. He has 1 month of an Airbnb in terms of his how much he has in his bank account. Takes the risk, goes to LA. In LA, guy pulls up in a Ferrari, ends up liking Black Origin, the hoodie, the shirt, ends up a week later, 2 weeks later, has an NBA player wearing his shirt. He's doing different stuff, all different media with Black Origin. A couple years later, like a year later, whatever the timeline is, he ends up getting into, he's doing different entrepreneurial side hustles. He's trying different things, make money online stuff like we all do right at the same time. He's developing his skills in other areas at the same time with Black Origin. He finds the TikTok Shop affiliate program. The first 2 months, absolutely nothing in terms of profit. He makes nothing. He has no expectations. He's just trying to make a couple hundred extra a week so that he can pay some bills. And boom, he switches products to this thing called Guru Nanda. He hits a $19,000 week profit, not just revenue, 19 grand. Instead of going into his bank account, he gets a 21 out of 24 point violation in terms of his account. Account gets stripped. He's gone for 3 weeks. In those 3 weeks, he's probably sitting thinking about how doesn't have 19 grand withdrawn. In those 3 weeks, he's studying the market. He's studying more about TikTok Shop. What's the violations? What's the problems, et cetera, et cetera. Boom, he comes back. He picks up a new product, Gut Cleanse, literally goes from violation, no account, to doing $90,000 profit in 2 months. That's $45,000 a month. That's $1,500 every single day. Starts to normalize in his brain. He still stays grounded, $90,000. He then switches to another 11 different products along the way, has major success with every single one. You guys have seen his formula. He talked about his entire formula from product research, and within product research, how do you actually pick the right product, right? And then within the ACC framework, right? Awareness, consideration, and conversion. He gave you key core tips within how to actually research the product and find out what to say on the product. In the consideration stage, how to tell stories, telling stories about other people so that it builds trust, trying to weave it all the way down to conversion and what it takes to actually convert a buyer, someone from unaware to completely bought in. The biggest separator on how he did it was he came in on trending products at the right time, and he got into the right timing. He got the perfect product. He has his framework in his head. He doesn't script things, but he has his framework in his head. He puts the same framework in place every single time, and boom, out comes success with every single product that he touches. Now, as he says, for beginners, videos and live, you want to be doing all formats, but specifically it's not videos or live, it's videos and live, right? So he does a video, he has to go to Alaska, he rewind a bit, he has to go to Alaska, he literally tries the video for the first time, and he had so much faith that boom, the video gets 7 million views, literally first try on video. So all the way fast forward to today, now Mace does different things. He's doing bottom of funnel. He had a record month of $35,000 this month for, actually no, more. You're going to probably end the month at like 50, 60,000.
Yeah, currently it's 35 with bottom.
Yeah, so with all the stuff with the way it's currently going, you'll probably end up about a $50,000 a month, which is pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, before bonuses, who knows? Yeah, I'm grateful, man. I'm super grateful.
Yeah, 100%. So guys, that is the story of Mr. Coach Mason, aka Black Origin. If you guys want to see more of him, if you want his help, you can go into 6FC. Make sure you guys you guys can comment. Actually, if you got to the end of the podcast, comment the word 50, and we'll do a $50 giveaway. Whoever comments, just comment the word 50 down below, and then subscribe, guys. If you have anything that you want to see more of, if you like this podcast, if you like the stories, if you want more stories, if you want a part 2 with Mason, if you want to go into like a masterclass, we could do that. But this is the story of Mr. Mason, his current story, right? There's always the future. Like in 6 months, it'll be a whole new story, right? So it always ever changes, right? So Mason, extremely happy to have you on, sir. Any final words?
Man, that was great. That was really great. You know, I know that just by being on here, a lot of people are in the shoes that both of us were in, you know, and I used to watch stuff like this, man. Like I used to watch people talk about screw the money, but just lifestyle and mindset, all this stuff, I was that person. So if you're watching this, you feel the authenticity through me and Jordy and know it can happen to you, but it won't if you don't take that risk and go all in on yourself. Like, you only got one life here. You got people depending on you. So go all in, risk everything, obviously calculated risks. One little tip I do want to end off on, this is specifically for TikTok Shop. This is going to sound a little funny, but if you're a brand new affiliate, the reason I love this so much is, like, Black Origin is who I am now. You know, it was not like that, and it was calculated. You're not going to want to be known as the deal saver, right? Eventually, this is going to become a personal brand. If you make a lot of money, like, these brands know me as Black Origin now. If I was, Mace got the deals, screw that. Like, go into this very professional. Because you have so much more leverage as an affiliate than you think. These brands are counting on you. These brands are counting on you. So be as calculated with it as possible, and just know if you see it, it will happen. It will happen as long as you keep the mindset, dedication, and calculated risks with your journey. Whatever you're seeing and feeling, you're going to get to it.
100%, 100%. Guys, like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Next week, we'll have a new guest making six figures. Let's go. Bye-bye.